Sergeant Bisa Larson. My top 5 funny, hilarious OC experiences as a police officer and correction officer. The first one, I was supervising a tier unit, behavior unit one day, doing my rounds, and I hear an inmate yelling, "Sarge, help me, Sarge, help me." So I go over, you hear this all the time. I go over, look in the window, and here is his roommate biting him on the shoulder. Teeth in the shoulder, looked like something from a Twilight movie. Get my spray out, open the flap, give instructions. He didn't stop biting, he wasn't listening. Put that spray right down there. He stopped biting. The most unusual, and you have to imagine Twilight and some werewolf movies, something you don't see every day. Before I move on again, don't forget our new book, Officer Perception, Surviving Danger. We do not talk about the OC sprays, but in this video talking about these situations, this perception, you never know what danger is going to occur. Timothy Amdahl and myself, this is an excellent book on Amazon. The second one, inmate urinating through the flap. Now, how did this happen? Doing chow one day, orderly's with me. I'm the one feeding chow because we were the ones that took it off the tray. The inmate orderly just pushed it. Always look in the window, isolation unit again. So I look in the window, see the inmate, had his shirt off, had pants on. No big deal. That's how they normally wear. They're inside their cell. So I check, make sure there's not a threat. Get the food tray, look in again, my hand opens, open the feed flap. By that time, he had dropped his pants, stuck his private parts out there, and started urinating on me. With the food tray in one hand, a can of spray was in the other hand. That naked inmate got lit up with that spray. He knew better. Number 3, and this is a tactical. This kind of isn't as funny, but it's a tactical situation. We had problems with the inmate, and this inmate actually had received photos from a nurse, inappropriate photos. This nurse also was giving him prescription medication that other inmates would refuse. You know, sometimes the mental health meds, the inmates say, "I don't want it, I don't want it." She'd put it back in her pocket, only it was the other pocket, and had been passing this. During my investigation, we went to get the inmate out. We took him, had a discussion with him. He admitted to everything, wrote it, put a written statement down for us. We took him back to the cell, one-man cell. As we put him in, we anticipated, the other officer and I, that things were going to be a problem. So I had to spray a can of spray in my hand already. As a supervisor, I had the big can of spray, 7%. And I told the officer, I said, you want me to take the cuffs off? He said, "No, I'll take them off." I said, "Okay, be real careful when you get that first cuff off. Make sure you're hanging on good and grab, because I think he's going to kick the door off." And he did. I had the can of spray like this. Officer got that first. He had his hand in, on that link. The inmate was, facing the other way. You can't see it, but he had his foot at the bottom of the door. He was a heavy-set inmate, so he had some weight to push off with. As soon as they got that first cuff off with, he did. He snapped it, got away. The officer let go of the cuff. I followed up with a good spray, because that's about the time that inmate was turning around to see if he did any damage. And all he saw was a whole can of orange spray right in his face and down his throat. I'm smiling. The officer was not hurt. We were prepared. That was a tactical, but a good spray story. Number 4, number 5, go back to my police days. Number 4, we had an inmate, he and his wife, always doing cocaine. Like I said, inmate, he was arrested, possession of cocaine. Take him to the county jail, take him down. They didn't do the picture and fingerprints right away. They wanted to put him right in a drunk tank. So they get him in the drunk tank. I'm there with my lieutenant. As soon as he gets in, we get the cuffs off. Now it was a little bit different room. It didn't have a flap. So we had him in face down on a mat. Got the cuffs off, gave him instructions. As we got him, we backed out, shut the door. No physical altercation. He was mouthy, he cussed at us. We get the door shut. He runs to the door, runs to the window, starts beating his head on that window, head slamming. Cuts his head open. Now he's starting to get some blood everywhere. The county jailer said, "You're going to have to go to the hospital. You're going to have to deal with him." Well, no, we brought him in. He's under a note. We haven't processed him in or anything. We just put him here. He's still yours. So Lieutenant looks at me and he said, "We'll spray him. We'll put some cuffs on. We'll get him cleaned up. He doesn't need stitches." I said, "Okay, what's the plan?" Lieutenant says, "Well, we open the door, step in there, give him instructions. We'll spray him if we need to." So we tell him he can sit back at his cell. He's thinking of following instructions, which is kind of rare for somebody that's on cocaine at this level. Officer perception, surviving danger. It's a good time for me to say that. The door opens. I go in first because, Lieutenant sends officer in before they go in. And he starts to charge at me. So I'm coming up with a fist in defensive posture. Next thing I know, this hand comes from over my shoulder like this. And this can of sprays right here. My lieutenant goes, psst, sprays his face. Well, this individual turns around, goes and sticks his head in the toilet. Now he's in there alone, sticks his head in the toilet, rinses his face off, turns around, charges again. I'm still like this, bam. I unload. Right there. Knocks him back on the ground, knocks him out. He's laying there. We roll him over, put some cuffs on him again, sit him back up, wake him back up. Well, at this point, because he had dunked his head in the toilet water, he had rinsed the blood off from his head banging. We could see it was just a little minor cut, nothing that would require stitches, just a Band-Aid. We got a Band-Aid, got him secured, got him put into a better place, took care of that. No more problem from him. Unusual. Perceptions, danger. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what happens after you spray somebody. Always have a plan B, a plan C. That's what defensive tactics will teach you. That's what I teach. And my number 5, this is funny, my number 5 favorite ultimate story. My buddy was late at night, probably 1:30 in the morning. Physical domestic down a trailer park. He's right there. I'm hurrying to get there. He says, "I'm out at the residence. I can hear active fighting, screaming." Then I hear him say, "He jumped out the window. I'm in foot pursuit." So now I'm getting close, really close, coming in the trailer park. Next thing I see, I pull up. Here's the officer on top of the inmate on the ground, putting handcuffs. I say inmate. This man from this domestic violence. He's being arrested. The man's squirming. All of a sudden, he gets up and starts to run. He's in handcuffs now. We chase maybe 20 feet or so, not that far. We're both there. We get him on the ground, get control of him. Tell him, we're going to spray you, do whatever. And police officers, we still spray and use force when they're in handcuffs, when they're fighting. It's a little bit different than inside. They don't have that rule. No, you shouldn't do all this stuff. We get him up, we get him in the back of the cruiser. Shut the door. Guess what he does? Starts headbanging, starts trying to break the plexiglass prisoner screen in the cruiser. And he turns and he starts headbutting. And the glass on that back door of that cruiser was rocking. I mean, you could see that glass like vibrating. So I look at the officer and like, well, we'll spray him. We'll take him out and we'll spray him. So this is the funny part. I get my can of spray out. The other officer, he opens the back door. We grab his arm. As we start to pull out, I reach around and I spray him as we're pulling him out to the ground. We gave him a warning to stop. He didn't stop. Open the door. So I'm spraying him as we're pulling out. Get him out. He's laying on the ground, on his back, sprayed high as could be on cocaine. After I'm done spraying, I get up, run, jump in my cruiser, and take off. I drive around the block. I roll up, roll my window down about like this. And I'm like, "Hey, bro, what's going on?" That's what makes this story funny. I'd sprayed him, took off in my cruiser, came back. Now, he was giving him care. He was outside giving him air. Fresh air is the number one thing when somebody's sprayed. It was just a funny moment. And he looked at me like, "I can't believe you just left. Come back and roll your window down and say, 'Hey, bro, what's up?'" I hope you enjoyed these experiences. There's some danger, there's some tactical things. You know, look back at what I just told you. One inmate biting another. You don't know if he's got AIDS, you don't know if there's a weapon, you don't know what's going to happen next. Urinating through the flap, he could have AIDS, he could have anything, he could have thrown urine and feces, he could have had a weapon. Officer perception, surviving danger. If you notice in these stories, a lot of times the spray's in my hand already. There's nothing in the policy that says you cannot pull the spray out, have it in your hand as you're explaining. That's a part of your officer presence. My presence, my buddy's presence, and the can of spray in my hand, that's presence. The handcuffing situation where you know he's going to kick off the door and try and hurt you. Tactical. The inmate, we just arrested for cocaine. That's known cocaine abuser. You put him in a cell, he's beating his head on a glass. He's going to be physical, he's going to be violent. We had a plan in place. Plan A, Plan B. It worked. None of us got hurt. In none of these stories did an officer get injured. In none of these stories is spraying the inmate, the detainee, were they ever injured. It was just spray. It gets taken care of by air and water. And then finally, the funny part, spray, jump in the car and take off and come back, say, "What's up, bro?" Hope you like these stories. If you've got some stories, a great story to tell, post it in the comments. Share with us some of the things, unique things. Now, yes, my buddies have sprayed me. We'd spray each other and test it. We'd spray each other and roll call, that kind of thing. Everybody does that. Same as a taser. When you got the taser and they tell you, everybody, Lieutenant says, everybody stand up, power on, drive stun. We want to do the hear it popping, make sure the battery's running. Especially in police, your buddy reaches over and pops you in the leg and tests it, and somebody's jumping a roll call. That's all funny too. Post in the comments. Thank you. I'll see you soon.